This is video 1.7 for the credit completion course, and the goal is to solve equations using the equal values method. So we're solving systems using equal values method. So the equal value method, now remember, a goal of solving system is to figure out when the values are the same. So we're looking for an XY pair that are the same for both rules. So we have two rules in order to solve a system. A system is always multiple rules. Now, we have to find when they're the same. So we use an equation. I want to know when that rule gives me the same answer as that rule. I want to know when they're the same. Keyword the same. So when I want to know when they're the same, well, I ask that question using an equation. When is 2x plus 3 equal to negative 3x plus 3? Negative 3 plus 3x. So I use them and I call their equal values. That's why we call it equal values. We set them equal to each other. Now I solve. So I'm going to minus 2x from both sides to start getting the x alone. That gets rid of the 2x on the left and leaving just a 3 on the left. And on the right, I get negative 3. I copy down and I do the math. 3x minus 2x gives me 1x. Continuing on, I'm going to now get the x alone by adding 3 to both sides. And I end up getting 6 on the left. On the right, the 3's cancel, which was the whole goal. And then I get 1x alone. So I'm done with this problem because I can see that x equals 6. So I found x equals 6 is when these two rules are equal because I solved that equation. Now what do I have to do next? There's always a second step because we have to find x and y. So we're going to plug in to find y. That's our second step. So now, plugging into the rule, y equals 2x plus 3. So I put 6 in for x, and I solve. 2 times 6 plus 3, and I get 12 plus 15. 12 plus 3 is 15. So y is 15. Now I will ask that you do both rules. This way you know that you're correct and you didn't make a silly mistake in the equation. So I'm going to do it again for the second rule. Y equals negative 3 plus 3x. I'm again going to plug in 6 the same way, but for x again, and I'm going to solve. So I'm going to get negative 3 plus 18, because 3 times 6 is 18, and then I get 15. I get the same answer. So we carefully follow order of operations, we do the math, and we get the same answer. It should be the same. So the answer, remember, is a point. It's a point where both these rules are the same. So the answer is 6 for x, comma, 15 for y. And there's my solution for number 1. Now we're going to try example 2, so we'll do one more example here for you. But let's first summarize the main rule, the main steps. The first step for solving a system is to write an equation. And the equation states the two rules have to be equal. The second step is always to plug in to find y. Typically you're finding y. It's really to plug in to find the other value. So let's take a look and try those same two steps for example number 2. First step, write the equation. So we're going to write the equation 1/2 x minus 6 equals 4 plus 3x. I simply wrote the equation that stated these two rules are equal. Now I'm going to solve this equation. Before I do that though, I'm going to change the fraction to a decimal because I know that's a nice decimal, and I'm going to change it to 0.5x minus 6, 4 plus 3x, because that's just easier for me to work with. So feel free to change things to decimals if that helps you. Now I'm going to solve. I like to get the x's alone together first, so I'm going to subtract 0.5x from both sides so I can get rid of the x's on the left. And by doing that, the x's cancel, and I end up with negative 6, don't lose that negative, equals 4 plus, now I'll do 3x plus minus 0.5x, and I get 2.5x. Continuing on, I want to get x alone, so now I'm going to subtract 4. That way my x's are alone on the right-hand side. And I end up getting negative 10 on the left when I add negative 6 and negative 4. On the right, the 4 and negative 4 cancel, and I end up with 2.5x's all alone. Now I'm going to finish by solving for x by dividing both sides by 2.5. And I get 4, negative 4, because negative 10 divided by 2.5 is negative 4, and on the right, the 2.5 cancel out. So this is my answer for x, but remember, we have to find y as well. So our second step is to plug in to find y. So I'm putting negative 4 in for x, and I'm going to solve. So I'm going to solve by 0.5 times negative 4 minus 6. And then that gives me negative 2 minus 6, because half of negative 4 is negative 2. And then I subtract, and I get negative 8. So I'm just order operations here, calculating this out. But I'm going to check it with the other rule. So now I'm going to write down the other rule and try it again. 4 plus 3x. So I'm going to do 4 plus 3 times negative 4. Doing the math, I'll do order of operations, multiply first. So I get negative 12. 4 plus negative 12 is negative 8. Good news is I got the same answer, so that's the correct solution. So the answer is negative 4x and negative 8 for y. So it's a coordinate pair, negative 4, negative 8. And I am done with this problem. So those are your two examples. Honestly, the number one issue is just solving the equation carefully or plugging in carefully to find y. But if you plug it in just like we did for both rules, if you get the same answer, you've probably done a really good job and you've got the correct solution here. That's how you know you're right. That's the best part about math, is sometimes you can check your work without having a teacher nearby. So do your best, try the next set of problems, and be sure to ask lots of questions if you get stuck.